I got a slight explanation from another guy on the staff. A guy told me that he was saving me from myself. In Cleveland, they told me I had a negative 20 in Indiana at halftime. I think that was part of the reason. Save me from myself? I never heard that before in my life. But I guess he was trying to do the best thing for me. When I signed here, why I wanted to come here, it's a lot different than what I anticipated. You're only as good as your coach thinks you are. That's a big part of each individual's success in the NBA.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily podcast on fantasy basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Fantrax and Basketball Monster. And today's show is also brought to you by our Patreon sponsor, and that is Daniel Omani Schwartz. So thank you to Daniel for sponsoring the show. And if you want to be a Patreon sponsor, head across to patreon.com/redrock_bball. My name is Josh Lloyd and you can find me on Twitter at redrock_bball. We've got games to talk about. We've got Tuesday's action. We've got Wednesday's games to preview. So
let's get to it.
All right, let's start off with the monstrous line of the night. Of course, it's always the best place to start. Jimmy Harden gets there again with the back-to-back 40-point triple-doubles. 40, 15, and 10, 7 threes, 11 of 24 from the field, and 11 of 14 from the line. I don't really know what more there is to say about Harden at the moment, to be honest. He's the number one player in fantasy basketball. He's just consistent. You know what you're getting from him. And if you drafted him, I would say you have absolutely zero complaints about what Harden is doing. He has been fantastic, and there's really... What more can I say about Harden? If you've got Harden, I wouldn't entertain a trade away. You would have to give me back some pretty significant pieces to get Harden off me. He is that far... Yeah, we talk about the guys in the top 5 being that good. Like they're that good. They're like 3-4 times better than a guy who's ranked 20th. So that's the sort of idea you've got to get. It's not a simple matter of I'll get 2 second-round players back for Harden. Doesn't work that way. He's that far ahead of everyone else in that tier that you just never entertain the thought of really trading away someone like James Harden, especially with the season he's having at the moment. The waiver wire line of the night, well, this is one of those ones where you throw your hands up in there and you go, cool. Like Michael Beasley is the waiver wire line of the night because Super Cool Bees played some extra minutes with Giannis struggling with his illness. 28 points for Michael Beasley, 5 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. He hit a triple. He went 11 of 18 from the field and 5 of 6 from the line. Again, he got this extra run and he got this extra production because Giannis was not out but played just 9 minutes and didn't play at all in the second half. And Beasley's starting to put up some decent performances, but it's nothing for me to get too excited about. Yes, in the last week, he's the 77th ranked player, and that's obviously impressive, and he's sporting a usage of 29%, which is ludicrously high for Michael Beasley, averaging 14 points over that stretch. But, again, Giannis missed a game out of those 4. Giannis missed basically 2 because he barely played today. So nothing to get too excited with Beasley. Yeah, 16-team leagues, sure. He's ranked outside the top 200 on the season. 14-teamers, maybe, but really just feels like a real fluky sort of stretch for Beasley, which is great if for some reason you happen to own him in any sort of standard formats. If you own him in deeper leagues, which is fine, you have to have him in 16 to 18-team leagues. You would love this performance. But I think that we all understand that it's somewhat fluky, or not somewhat fluky, it's a lot fluky, and is probably not going to happen again this season, would be my guess. The young gun of the night, the table, Montrezl Harrell. Another big night for Harrell. 14 points with 3 rebounds. He was reinserted back into the starting lineup, but that makes no difference in Houston. I think we're seeing that now. It doesn't matter if he starts. It doesn't matter if he comes off the bench. Nene plays 16 minutes and he plays 27 minutes. It's just what happens every day. 14, 3, and 2. 2 steals and 3 blocks, a perfect 5 of 5 from the line. This is after he was 12 of 13 from the 5 of 5 from the field. This is after he was 12 of 13 from the field in his last game. 4 of 6 from the line. And is a top 70 player over the last 2 weeks. He is putting up good numbers. Now, the problem is he's getting to the line quite a bit, over 5 attempts a game in that time at 64%, which makes him close to a punt guy. That's a significant dip. It's a over -2 Z score for the free throw percentage, so you do have to watch that, but he obviously should be owned. Now, when Clint Capella returns, which we're hearing is going to be in a couple of weeks' time, I'm not really... I don't know what to expect from Harrell. And one thing I wouldn't be doing is going and stashing Capella, because Harrell has played well. But I can see them getting 20 minutes apiece, 18 minutes to one, 21 minutes to the other, 14 or 21, that sort of stuff, which is not going to make Harrell ownable, and it's going to really limit what Capella could do. The way that Harrell has played, I don't think we're going to... we saw before Capella's injury, he was down getting 22 minutes a night anyway. So I do worry that the play of Harrell here is really going to limit what Capella can do, but it's also going to mean that Harrell's not going to be a player that's ownable once Capella comes back. But for now, this is why you have these expendable roster spots to add a guy like this who puts up 3, 4, 5 weeks worth of top 70 numbers, which is what Harrell is doing, and you use that, and then when it drops off, you move on. If for some reason you can sell high and get someone who's going to have long-term top 70 value, then by all means do it. I reckon that's going to be a pretty tough sell though, but he has been impressive and continuing to put up good numbers on most nights. The dud of the night, of course, it's Yanni. Yes, he was sick, but he was on the court for 9 minutes. It would have torpedoed many people's DFS lineups. He would have used up a game in your Roto league. 0 points on 0 of 3 shooting, 2 boards, 2 assists, and 1 block. I reckon we give Yanni somewhat of a pass for this performance, given that he is the number 3 ranked player over the course of the season, averaging 23, 9, and 5.5, with 2 steals and 2 blocks on 53 and 78. I was going to say it doesn't get much better than that. It does, obviously, and their names are Kevin Durant and James Harden. But yeah, Yanni has been a huge surprise this season, and let's hope the Bucks have got a couple of days off before he plays next, so let's hope that he is fine from this illness. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about with him moving forward, but obviously a huge performance from Beasley, which was counteracted by a huge dud from Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's all the awards done. Let's move into the games now. We'll talk about them in a little bit more detail, as we like to do at this part of the show. Let's get stuck into them. The first one is the Chicago Bulls and the Washington Wizards. The Bulls without Butler and Wade, then were also without Nikola Mirotic, so they were sporting a pretty piss-poor lineup, to be honest. But then they got out to a huge start, mainly because they were just shooting everything in from 3 at about 85% in the first quarter and a bit. They ended up cooling off, as they want to do, because they're not a good 3-point shooting team, and the Wizards got the victory 101-99. But I think what most people want to hear is Rajon Rondo, who played 27 minutes off the bench, and he looked fantastic in that first half. He didn't look quite as good in the second half, but he did look good to begin the game. 12, 4, and 6 for Rondo in 27 minutes with 3 steals. I am not getting excited about... I would never get excited about Rondo anyway, so that's not fair of me to say. I would not get overly hyped about this. I would not go and grab Rondo in a 12-team league. He played 27 minutes, yes. Michael Carter-Williams still played 29. Denzel Valentine played 30. Jaren Grant played 25. So it's not like he went out there and wowed everybody and they said, shit, let's just play Rondo the rest of the game. Didn't happen. He still played a limited role, and it was a night where Rondo went 6 of 13 from the field, and we know that we can't trust that from him. He did look engaged defensively. He did do stuff very, very nicely on offense as well. I give him all the credit for that, but I can totally see him not only going back to a minimal role, but being out of the rotation. Now, Hoiberg said his play does deserve to keep him in the rotation, but when Mirotic, Butler, and Wade comes back, what do you do? Do you take Jaren Grant out of the rotation completely? Because Denzel Valentine, I think, has to play, because he was fantastic. So Rondo, 14, 16 team leagues maybe. I could see him in a backup role maybe at 14 minutes a night, 15 maybe, around that mark. But I don't really think that this is let's all go great, because let's be honest, when he was starting, he wasn't tearing things up with great numbers anyway. So he's not coming back and going, oh, everything's right now, Rondo, let's go and you can have your 35 minutes a night back. I don't see that happening. If you do, by all means, now you grab him, of course. I just don't see that happening. As for Denzel, he played 30 minutes, 19, 2 and 2 with 2 steals and 5 triples. He looked very comfortable out there. I talked a lot about Denzel in the offseason, especially after the draft. His game was extraordinarily fantasy friendly, but it was obviously muted by Butler, Wade, and Rondo being present. And the 2 ankle injuries haven't helped him as well. But I like what I see from him. His ability to hit threes is something this team obviously needs. He should be replacing Isaiah Cannon in the rotation, and I'd like to see him get more playing time down the stretch. So dynasties value him relatively highly, and you're looking at deeper leagues now for redraft stuff. Bobby Portis is the Bulls' best three-point shooter this year, apparently. Not apparently, he is. 13 and 7 for Bob in 18 minutes with 3 triples. He likely goes back to a reserve role here, while Carter Williams had 14, 7 and 2 with a couple of steals in his 29 minutes. Taj double-doubled. Robin Lopez had 14 and 6, a good night from him after some really, really piss-poor performances. And speaking of piss-poor, Dougie McDermott, 24 minutes for Doug, 4 1-1 on 2 of 11 shooting. I did tell you that Doug McDermott is not a good fantasy player. He has had some decent games, and he was a great add with 5 Bulls games this week. They've got 3 left now. So if you added him in a 12-team league, I'd be more than happy to move on from him and just grab those other 3 games from other sources. Stream, grab someone else who's got 3 games left. He's just not a good fantasy player, and that's 2 real stinkers in a row from Doug. Onto the Wizards, Johnny Wall hit the game winner to finish with 26, 6 and 14 and a triple one, and he was 11 of 21 from the field. So big numbers from John. And Markieff Morris fouled out in 22 minutes. But if you look at his line, I don't think he'd really care. 19, 4 and 2 with 3 steals and 3 triples. He has been playing very well lately and should be owned in all standard leagues. 42 minutes for Marcin Gortat, 10 and 12, a steal and a block. The minutes aren't going away until at least Mihinmi comes back, which might not be ever. So, nothing's happening. Now, I did advise earlier on in the season to try and trade away Gortat, because that was when we assumed that Mahinmi was coming back at the start of December. Unfortunately, multiple surgeries later, that hasn't happened. Otto Porter, not a great night, 11, 2 and 2, but 2 steals and a block is helpful, while Braddles Beal went 19, 4 and 3 with 3 triples. We also got extra run from Jason Smith, who played 23 minutes. He had 7 and 6, and Smith had a usage of over 20% when Otto Porter had 13 and Gortat at 11.6. That is ludicrous use of resources. Jason Smith is not good. Nothing to see there, obviously, with him. All right, let's move on to the next game. We'll talk Boston and Toronto. Marcus Smart made another start for Avery Bradley. 16, 4 and 5, 4 steals, 1 block, 1 3, and 6 of 11 from the field. He just has to be owned, especially in a punt field goal situation. In fact, over the last 2 weeks, Marcus Smart is a 46% shooter from the field, so that's not even punt field goal. He is a guy that's a top 30 player over that time frame. He is putting up ridiculous numbers. I don't see a reason not to own him, except if you have got just borderline field goal percentage and you don't want to go full punt, then there is a risk that he drops off. But he has been shooting a lot better and racking up the other numbers. When you get 9 rebounds from Al Horford, it's a good night. 14, 9 and 4, although the Celtics couldn't get the victory over the Raptors. They lost 106, 114. Horford went 14, 9 and 4, while Isaiah Thomas had 27 and 1 and 7, so got the assists, got the scoring, but that ludicrous efficiency that he'd been sporting the last couple of weeks dropped off, as we expected, 8 of 19 from the field for Isaiah. Amir Johnson, just when I was talking about there was stability in Brad Stevens' rotations, 16 minutes for Amir. Now, there was foul trouble, so maybe we give him somewhat of a pass there. Amir had 4 and 5, while Kelly Olynyk stepped in, and this is 20-plus minutes for Olynyk 2 games in a row. 25 minutes for Olynyk. He did very well defensively. He went 13 and 4 with a block and a 3. They're just guys to watch at this point. Gerald Green also had a huge role in this one. 24 minutes, 14 and 5 for Gerald, but I wouldn't be getting overly excited. When Bradley comes back, he's probably out of the rotation. For the Raptors, DeMar DeRozan, crazy, 41 and 13 with 2 steals, and the efficiency is through the roof. He has been ridiculous. He's a top 30 player this year. And whenever someone tells you contract year, someone's in he's in a contract year, he's going to have a big year, or after someone gets a new contract, nah man, what he did last year was because of a contract year. He got his money, he just wanted to get paid, he's going to get lazy. Take a look at DeMar DeRozan, because for every example that you can give for someone doing that, there's an equal amount of examples you can give for the other side of a player actually getting better after they signed a big contract. Trevor Ariza was one of those guys. Kyle Lowry was one of those guys. Yet DeMar DeRozan is now one of those guys who, after they sign a big contract, they get better. So don't believe the bullshit narratives. They're just not true. Kyle Lowry, back to being efficient. 7 of 12, 24, 4 and 9, 2 steals, 5 triples. But the big news for me is the play of Jonas Valanciunas. 28 minutes for JV. 18 and 23 with 2 blocks. I would have loved if it wasn't on 6 of 18 shooting, because that's normally an area he excels in. But 6 of 6 from the line. They gave him possessions in the last quarter. They kept him on the court in the last quarter. He had a key block down the stretch as well and played exceedingly well. This is the Valanciunas that I talk about when I say that he's a good player. Yes, I know he has struggles at times, but he was fantastic here, and let's hope that this can continue. The Raptors did make a change to their starting lineup, taking Norm Powell out and playing him just 4 minutes, and starting Patrick Patterson. Patterson was terrible in 21 minutes, 0 points. If he starts, it doesn't matter. You don't want to own him outside of 14 to probably 16 team leagues. Bebe played 21 minutes. He had a couple of blocks with 7 points. And Damari Carroll, the minutes issues are over with him. 35 minutes. And this is more a Damari Carroll line. 11, 4 and 2, a steal, a block, and 3 triples. I feel like that might be something you can expect from him moving forward. So he is absolutely fine to add onto the end of your 12-team league roster. Let's go for the Atlanta Hawks and the Brooklyn Nets, a blowout, and we had some surprising performances, namely Chris Humphries, who went 13 and 8 with a steal and a block in his 16 minutes. I wouldn't be chalking that up to anything that's going to continue to happen. Maybe revenge game? I don't know. Just a big night from Chris. Dennis Schroeder continues his big season, 19 points, 10 assists, and 2 steals, while Taurean Prince played 20 minutes and DeAndre Bembry saw just 3. Prince played 20, he went 8 and 6, he had a pair of threes and a pair of blocks, and I do like his fantasy potential. I think that Bembry will tend to get more of these Corver minutes than Prince, but it's going to be an interesting one to monitor, and they're going to be more 16 to 18 team league guys. Tabo went 10, 4 and 2 with 2 steals and a block, getting those defensive numbers that had him entrenched as a top 100 guy for big chunks of the season. He is still fine to own in 12-team leagues, but obviously his sexiness is not high. While Timmy Hardaway, this is again why I just don't really feel Tim Hardaway is a great 12-team league guy. Look, the numbers are okay. 22 minutes, 9 points, 1 3, 2 blocks, 1 steal, but I do not count on Hardaway going for 4 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks very often. He's going to be up and down with scoring, and that's basically what he provides. Dwight had 14 and 16 with a block in his 28 minutes, while Kent Bazemore, he was predictably terrible. 6 and 3 in 22 minutes with 2 steals, and he is just trash. I think you can still hold him in certain situations, but I would feel absolutely no guilt about turfing his ass. No Trevor Booker for the Nets, so Rondé Hollis-Jefferson made the start, only played 20 minutes. He had a usage of 30, which is ludicrous. 10 and 7 for Hollis-Jefferson on 2 of 9 shooting. He just has not progressed this season as we would have hoped he would have. And there's no reason to be owning him in 12s, maybe even 14-team leagues. Shawnee Kilpatrick, he's run in 12s, I reckon is done as well. 14 and 5 in 25 minutes, and it's coinciding with the rise of Karis LeVert. Now, LeVert wasn't great. He played 23 minutes, and that's the important thing. 11, 3 and 2 in 23 minutes, and he's getting over 20 minutes a night. It might be a little bit of time before we really see him get to 27 to 30, but I reckon by the end of the season, by March, you're going to be seeing 28 to 30 minutes a night from LeVert, at least for a small stretch, and that would make him a 12-team league guy. Bojan Bogdanovic had 16 and 6 in his 26 minutes. He is a streaming guy, and that's it to me. While the point guard mess continued, you just never know what's going to happen. Today, it was almost an even split, 26 to Isaiah Whitehead, 22 to Spencer Dinwiddie. Whitehead went 7, 2 and 3. Dinwiddie went 4, 7 and 5. Neither of these guys should be anywhere near a 12-team roster at this point. Quincy Acey made his Nets debut as well. Played 1 minute for 4 points. Cool. Let's go on to the next game. It is the Charlotte Hornets and the Houston Rockets. There was no Cody Zeller, there was no Nick Batum, so Roy Hibbert and Jeremy Lamb started, but they weren't the two that really benefited the most. Frank Kaminsky got hot, Spencer Hawes played well, and Marco Bellinelli chimed in too. So let's start with Frank the Tank, who had 22 points on 14 shots with 4 triples in 27 minutes. I do believe that Kaminsky can become a 12-team guy by the end of the season. I just don't have faith. I don't think he's going to be a high enough ranked guy to even consider grabbing him now. But a good performance. Spencer Hawes, he does this every time when Zeller is out. 16, 5 and 4, 2 threes in 25 minutes, and then he'll be back out of the rotation. It's almost like clockwork. While Bellinelli played his best game since returning from an ankle injury. 15, 3 and 6 for Bally in 28 minutes and hit 3 triples. Now, he was a borderline 12-team league guy before his ankle injury, and he's going to have value with his threes, but probably not much else. More a 14-team league guy, while Lamb had 11, 5 and 4 in his 28 minutes. Kemba was great as well, 25, 6 and 10 with 5 triples, but it wasn't enough to get the Hornets the victory over the Rockets. They lost 114, 121. That's because Jim Harden plays for the Rockets, and we know how good he is. Now, Montrezl Harrell, the table was also awesome, and with Eric Gordon out, Corey Brewer stepped up and played 26 minutes. 15 and 5 for Brewer. Nothing to get excited about with him. He'll go back to a 12, 13-minute role when Eric Gordon returns in the next one. Ryan Anderson had 13 points. Trevor Ariza had 16, 4 and 3 in 40 minutes. And Pat Bev struggled, just 2 of 10 from the field, but he is one of the best rebounding point guards in the game. 8, 8, and 5 for Beverly with 2 3-pointers. So even on a night where it wasn't quite working for him, he still was able to put up some decent-ish numbers, I guess is probably the best way of putting that. All right, let's look at Milwaukee and San Antonio. The Bucks, that's a huge win for the Bucks without Jabari on the road in San Antonio, 109-107. Not without Jabari, without Giannis. Jabari Parker was good though, 22, 7, and 3, and he has really taken significant leaps forward this season. Really been impressed with Jabari, and I think that he's going to have consistent top 50 value for big chunks of his career moving forward. Broggo started again, Malcolm Brogdon, 25 minutes, 17, 6, and 6. Now, I don't like that he only played 25 minutes and Daly played 23. That's almost an even split between the minutes, but Brogdon was comfortably the more productive player. Daly went 4, 2, and 5 with 2 steals, and Brogdon has to be owned in all 12-team leagues. I think that it's going to be impossible for Kidd not to play him the majority of the minutes every night. Same with Greg Monroe, who should be getting the majority of the minutes at centre, and he is. 14, 9, and 4 in 28 minutes, while Johnny Henson had 6 and 6 in his 17 minutes. You know what to do with that situation. Mirza Teletovic played just 5 minutes in this one, so Beasley sort of chopping him out of the rotation almost completely there. For the Spurs, LaMarcus Aldridge was out with gastroenteritis. David Lee started in his place, 10 and 7 for Lee with a block in 26 minutes. So he's been productive when he's had opportunities to start this season, Lee, but we leave him for the next 16, 18 team leagues probably. Kawhi, 30 and 7, and a real solid night. 2 triples, 3 steals, 3 blocks, great percentages. A very nice all-round night from Kawhi. While Tony Parker probably surprisingly played 33 minutes, 14, 3, and 7 with a steal, and once again, Patty Mills left to 15 minutes. We've seen Mills drop off significantly over the last 6 weeks and Parker rise up. I don't think Parker's a must-own 12-team league guy. For example, I'd much rather have the table. I'd much rather have Broggo instead of Tone Parker. But he has been impressive and he's absolutely a stream guy for 12-team leagues. Davis Bertans had a nice game as well. 19 minutes for Bertans, 11 points with 3 triples and a block. And I think that he is going to be a really good player in a couple of years' time. Really impressed with what he's done, his ability to shoot. He can do some defensive stuff. He can score. He's a deeper league guy for now, obviously, but he is working himself into a pretty consistent rotational role. While Dan Green hit 4 triples in his 26 minutes. Wasn't a great power night. He went 6 of 11. It was an awesome matchup for him, but he was not able to convert that matchup into great production. Let's go to Cleveland and Utah. The Jazz with a massive victory, 100-92 over the Cavs. LeBron, 29, 6, and 5 with 4 steals. He was awesome in the third quarter, brought the Cavs back from a big deficit to hit the front, and then the Jazz took it away from there. And Kyrie had 20 with 4 and 4. Kevin Love, not the best Kevin Love night, 12 and 9. But obviously we want to know what Kyle Korver did. Now there's the caveats here, of course, that it's his first game and he'll be worked in, but he played 18 minutes. He had 2 and 3. I will reiterate, and this is not just based on this, I do not believe that Kyle Korver is a must-own 12-team league guy. I do not see Korver getting big minutes here, and I do not see Korver outperforming what he did in Atlanta. Yes, DeAndre Liggins and Iman Shumpert are the 2 guys taking those minutes away from him, but they're not just going to say, all right, Korver, you play 30, 32 minutes now, and Liggins and Shumpert, you just don't play at all. I just don't see that is what's going to happen. Korver's going to be in a low 20-minute role, I believe, and it's just not going to be useful enough. And this was, again, not a great start. And you can tell me all you want that he's going to have open looks. That's great. Doesn't help rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, free throw percentage. Does nothing for any of that. It'll help his threes. It'll help his field goal percentage. But what sort of touches is he going to get on a team with LeBron, Kyrie, and Love? The answer is not. He'll have them and he'll hit them, but he won't have many of them, and it won't be enough to make an impact, in my opinion. Tristan Thompson had a nice 12 and 12 double-double in 35 minutes. For the Jazz, Gordie Hayward, 28 and 9, 4 triples, a steal and a block, and ridiculous 10 of 12 shooting from the field. You can't argue with that, really. And Rudy Gobert, 11 and 14 with 3 steals and a block. The big news from the Jazz is Rod Hood, though. He'd been terrible. He'd been stinking it up for a while, but this is a big game from Rod. 35 minutes. His minutes hadn't been in question. But 35 here, 18, 5 and 3, 2 steals and 4 triples. This is the Rod Hood that I know. This is the Rod Hood that I think is a good player. And let's hope that this kickstarts him on from here. In 10-team leagues, he's probably a tough guy to grab. But in 12-teamers, I do think that you should still be holding him or grabbing him. Interesting to me that Joe Ingles played still 27 minutes, leaving Alec Burks and Dante Exum completely out of the rotation. Ingles had 5, 2, and 5, and they switched him onto LeBron defensively at times. He is one of the best players in the NBA that people have no respect for, I guess, or don't know that he's actually a good, serviceable player. Derek Favors played 25 minutes, 12, 5, and 2, a steal and a block. Nothing too special there, but the key thing was him on the weekend getting 30 minutes. Let's hope he can get back up to that on a regular basis. Well, Georgie Hill went 13, 3, and 7. Not a high usage night from Hill, but still obviously a productive performance, just not as big as some of those early season ones we saw from Georgie. Let's move on to Detroit and Sacramento. Andre Drummond scored 9 points, and on the surface you go, that's shit. But he had 12 boards, he had 3 steals, he had 7 blocks, and he was 80% from the field. So in the end, the points were low, but everything else was pretty impressive. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope continues to be much more consistent this year. He hit 6 triples for 21 points, had 5 boards, 2 assists, and a steal, and has really improved his game this year. Well, Johnny Lure is out, and Lure is out for the next 3 games after this as well. So if you added him in a 12-team league and you don't have IR, there's no reason to hold on to him. He was borderline hold anyway. Get rid of him. Toby Harris started in his place, 40 minutes, 18, 3 and 2, 2 threes, 2 blocks. He has really elevated his game since that lineup change. And Reg Jackson dropped in 19 in his 31 minutes. Marcus Morris, just not that good. 9 and 3 in 31 minutes for Marcus. I reckon he is more of a 14-team league guy. While Boban Marjanovic played 10 minutes, Aaron Baines 6. That is obviously a situation to monitor. Marjanovic is the much better fantasy producer, and if he gets himself into 16 minutes a night, that's going to push 16, maybe even 14-team league value. He had 8 and 4, Boban, in his 10 minutes here. For the Kings, Boogie, 24, 13, and 6, 4 triples, a steal, and a block. And the report that just come out saying that Boogie will be signing a big extension in the offseason, a $207 million extension to stay in Sacramento. So, good news if you're a Kings fan, I guess. Rudy Gay, 11, 7, and 4 with 3 steals and a block. And Anthony Tolliver, in another start, second consecutive starts, had 17 points with 3 triples, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. In the 2 games that Tolliver's played, they took the Warriors pretty close, and then they beat the Pistons here 100-94. So I can see Tolliver sticking in this starting role, at least for a decent amount of time, and being a useful player probably for 14-team leagues, but absolutely stream-worthy in standards. Garrett Temple remains starting. He is an 18 to 16-team league guy despite 30 minutes, 11 points with 3 triples there. And the point guard mess is just that. 28 minutes to Darren Collison, 9 points, 4 assists. 24 minutes to Ty Lawson, 8, 2, and 2. If you own them in 12-team leagues, I would venture a guess they're your worst player. So you're probably better off. Hold them, but if there's someone else out there, don't feel worried about moving on. I just don't feel the upside for them is really there this year, unfortunately. 11, 7, and 4 for Rude Gay as well, while Costa Koufos played 22 minutes. He had 12 and 8 in 22. Now, Boogie was a little bit bothered by some foul trouble in this game, so that enabled Costa to get some extra playing time. Miami and Golden State. Hassan Whiteside, a huge night from Whiteside, 28 and 20, a steal, 2 blocks, only 2 of 3 from the line, which is not too bad, and then a monster 13 of 17 from the field. He was doing some offensive stuff that I hadn't really seen him do before as well. So a lot of people have been disappointed with Whiteside, but I still think that he is going to be probably a top 10 punt free throw guy by the end of the year. No Joshie Richardson, so Dion Waiters started. He was terrible. 8, 3, and 8. He was 4 of 17 from the field. He is more the 16-team league guy, I reckon, maybe 14. I wouldn't be looking at him in 12s. While Jimmy Johnson played 30 minutes, had 14, 2, and 6 with 2 steals. Again, just continually producing. He's a 12-teamer. So is Tyler Johnson, who went 18 and 7 and got crunched by Draymond Green at the end. 3 triples with 3 assists for Tyler, while Dragic had 17, 2, and 4. So it was more of the same for the Heat, basically. Scooter Magruder started, did nothing. Luke Babbitt started, did nothing. And that's been what they've done for the majority of the season. For the Warriors, again, speaking of what they've done for the majority of the season, yes, Klay Thompson was out, but Kevin Durant had 28 and 8 with 2 blocks. Steph had 24, 8, and 9 with a steal and a block and 4 triples. Draymond went 13, 9, and 5 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. That is just what these guys do. But the one to, I guess, pay attention to is Zaza, who played 24 minutes. He had 8, 6, and 3. Now, that's nothing exciting, but the minutes are on the way up. Instead of 18, we're talking 22 or 23, and his value is pushing up to being maybe top 140, top 150, and that means in 14-team leagues, he should be becoming owned more than what he currently is. Pat McCaw started in place of Thompson, didn't do anything, 3 of 3. 3 and 3, and Ian Clark had 10 points in his 22 minutes. But as we know, there's not a lot of value on the Warriors, and whatever happens just seems to be fairly consistent most of the time. The last game of the night, we've got the Blazers and the Lakers. Mo Harkless, 14 and 5, a steal and 3 blocks in 32 minutes. His numbers had been a little bit down with Al-Farouq Aminu returning, but still, you're putting up numbers to make him a 12-team league guy, and you know that I think Aminu is, who went 8, 15, and 4 with 3 blocks in 29 minutes. CJ McCollum, 25 points on 10 of 18 shooting. McCollum's a top 10 player over the last 2 weeks, and I just can't believe how well he shoots. Now, last year he shot fantastically well, and I looked at it at 45%. I don't really think he's going to get better from here. Well, what he has done, he's actually stayed exactly the same on his 3-point percentage, but he's taken his 2-point percentage up by such a large amount. Now, some of that still lingers in my head going, he can't continue to do it. He can't continue to take contested mid-ranges and then go in at this 48, 50% range where he's shooting them. It just doesn't feel real. And I do feel that's coming, but it's kept up for half a season, so maybe I'm just wrong about it. But he's taken his true shooting up by 6 or 7% this year after having what felt like an unsustainable run last year. Really been impressive. Mason Plumlee had 11 and 7 with 2 blocks, while Dame Lillard 28 and 6 on 7 of 21 shooting. Not a great night there from Lillard. And if you were sucked into grabbing Alan Crabb after scoring 30 points the other night, this is Alan Crabb, 9 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists in 26 minutes. This is what you should expect from Crabb on a more permanent basis. Lou Deng went 14 and 6 for the Lakers in 30 minutes. This was a blowout that the Blazers won it by 21, 108-87. Yeah, Deng had a nice little run of top 100 value. That's done. 12 teamers forget it. Jordy Clarkson, he had 9 points. But I guess the guy we want to talk about is Brandon Ingram, who had another 11 points. He was efficient again and did it in 26 minutes. That's 3 straight games of double-digit scoring and improved percentages. It doesn't mean that I want to grab him. I don't think his upside is high enough to hold on to a guy who probably won't crack the top 150 till mid-February, if that. If you miss out and have to grab him after he's truly broken out later on, I don't think you're missing a top 50 guy down the stretch. I just don't think that's what Ingram's going to do, but he is showing some signs of progress. Lou Williams had 10 points in 16 minutes, while Uncle P had 8 in 28. Both those guys are definitely getting close to that situation where you go, do I drop them? I think Young almost is a guy you want to drop, and Williams is a guy I'd hold, but it's getting not ideal. D'Angelo Russell, 4 of 14 for 9 points. That's not a good shooting night from Russell, but he played 30 minutes. That's good. He had 8 boards, 6 assists, 3 steals, and a block. So continue to get it done in those other areas. And you know that I'm a pretty big D'Angelo Russell for fantasy fan. Julius Randle, just after I'd talked him up, he goes and throws in a game where I go, this is the guy that I saw, and I went, what is wrong with this guy? 6, 10, and 3 on 2 of 9 shooting. He just has these brain fart games that make you go, maybe he's not good. I still think that he has improved a lot, and he is going to be much better than I thought. But then this game comes and goes, is this guy even a starting caliber player? And yeah, based on that, he's not, but obviously he is based on the other games that we've seen him play so far. That does it for all the games from Tuesday. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back to preview the 6 games we've got coming up for DFS on Wednesday. Alright guys, let's talk perfect DFS lineups, and these are doozies, these ones. Marcus Smart, 35.3, yeah, you could have seen that. Steph at 48.1, of course. DeMar DeRozan, 59.6. Jimmy Harden, 69.
Giggity.
Thank you. Kawhi at 52.4. Mick Beasley at 46. If you had Mick Beasley in your DFS lineup, let me know. And I want to see proof of it. Chris Humphries at 29.6. If you had Chris Humphries in your DFS lineup, even more than Beasley, let me know. Al-Farouq Aminu at 36, Jonas Valanciunas at 46.6, and that's a total of 422.6 for 59,800. On DraftKings, Harden at 79.75, Denzel Valentine at 30.5, Gordo Hayward 47.75, Mick Beasley 48.75, Valanciunas 50.75, DeRozan at 62.75, Humphries at 30, and Hassan at 61.5 for a total of 411.75, and that used all $50,000 of your DraftKings salary. Let's look at the first game of Wednesday, and it is the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. The Knicks are favored by 2. The total is 209.5, and Derrick Rose will play. We don't know if he'll play off the bench. We don't know what his minutes will be, but he will play. He will not get suspended. He has been fined by the team. He flew back to Chicago to be with his mum. He said it's nothing to do with the team. I don't, from what I understand, it wasn't anything actually to do with his mum. It was him having mental issues himself and wanted to be around his family. Still shit that, yeah, mental issues are terrible. I know that, but it's shit that he didn't tell the Knicks. And it's especially shit when he knew that they were trying to contact him and he didn't bother to tell them. He knew that he was getting contacted and didn't tell them. That's a pretty bad effort. I don't know how long Rose remains on this team, whether they just outright waive him or what they do. So if you did add Brandon Jennings, I'd want to hold to see exactly what happens in this game. I would just hold and just see how things run, what they do with Rose, and what happens over the next week, because it's a very weird situation. Now, both Melo and O'Quinn were ejected in the last game. They should be right to go here. And Mindaugas Kuzminskas, he is listed as probable with an illness. Jahlil Okafor won't be in the rotation. We've got some advanced notice of that, so that's good to know. But he will return across the weekend when Embiid sits, which is going to be on Saturday. TJ McConnell's at 5,400. I like McConnell, obviously. I do have some worry with him just in case they do increase Spanish Chocolate's minutes, but otherwise I think he's fine to go. The matchup is okay. He's definitely someone you can consider. He's at 55 on DraftKings, which is not as ideal, but he is fine. Probably not. Like if you're going in that mid-price point guard range, he's fine, but there are better options to go with at point guard in the other price points. 66 for Derrick Rose, no thanks. 49 for Brandon Jennings would be appealing if we knew that he was going to play the bulk of the minutes, but at this point you'd have to look at both of those guys as GPP guys only, and I'd probably lean more towards Jennings in case they say you play 30, Derek, you play 18, but we don't know that at this point, so that's something to monitor for sure. Shooting guard Courtney Lee at 4,200 was really terrible in that last game, but I reckon you can give the Knicks a pass on that, considering they're all in the dark. They're all sitting there going, where's Derek? Nobody knows. So they're all like, is the dude okay? Like, this is shit. Like, they were literally thinking, like, is this guy alive? So, yeah, some of their performances you can excuse from Monday. He's at 4,200, Lee. He has no GPP upside. He's an okay cash play, but with 6 games on it, there's better guys that you can find. Sauce Castillo, who is starting now for the Sixers, he is at 3,700 over on FanDuel. He's at 39 on DraftKings. I think he's got upside to be used as a GPP guy. He dropped 25 in the last game in 31 minutes. He handles the ball, he can score, he can shoot, but not enough trust to use him in cash. And Gerald Henderson, no thanks. Melo's at $8,000 on FanDuel, which is okay. He's at 76 on DraftKings, which I do like a lot. I can see Melo being useful on DraftKings, probably not so much over on FanDuel. Bob Cub, though, at 5,500, love that. He's averaging 32 across the last 3. He dropped 40 in the last game. I feel pretty good about using Robert Covington here. At 6,000 on DraftKings, I'm not quite as on board. But 55 on FanDuel, no reason for me to ignore him. Kuzminskas and Thomas, no thanks. Power forward Nerlens Noel is at 4,600. I think that Noel is a decent GPP guy. We know that he can rack up stats. I think he gets 20 to 22 minutes here in this one. And at 4,600, he could easily get you 24, 25 points. We know that he racks up steals and blocks in high amounts, and those are things that if you get a few of them, they really get the counter ticking over. So Noel is someone that you definitely should look at as a GPP power forward. Ersan Ilyasova is at 59 on... Nerlens Noel's at 42 on DraftKings, sorry. Ilyasova at 5,900 and 61 on DraftKings. Not really that keen. And he's at 7,900 Kristaps. His numbers haven't quite been at that level. 75 on DraftKings is better. I would feel much better about using him on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, I just don't think I want to spend almost $8,000 when he is averaging under 34 across the last 5 games. He can obviously do it. He's a GPP guy, but that's really about it. Šarić is at 4,200, and I don't think he's got enough upside to be a GPP guy and not enough safety to be a cash play. The process, Joel Embiid is at 7,500 on FanDuel. He's at 8,000 on DraftKings, but he's still worth using. This matchup is really good for him. You should be looking at 40 plus points in both formats. The only thing that will bother him is fouls, but I don't think that'll be too much of a concern. His lowest score in his last 5 games is 33 points, which is ridiculous. Joakim Noah, 4,800. Really hard to use him given he's been jerked around the last 3 games. Same with Kylo Quinn and Billy Hernan-Gomez. Just no trust there. I would consider Noah in a GPP format, but that's really about it for those guys. Let's look at Washington and Boston. Both of these guys coming off a game on Tuesday, so it's back-to-backs for them. No spread currently released for this one. Avery Bradley's the injury we need to pay attention to, who's missed the last couple of games with an Achilles issue. Obviously, if he is out, Marcus Smart becomes the guy that we really want to look at. He's at 5,200, and he has been averaging 36 over the last 3. I'd even potentially consider him if Bradley plays, because Bradley may be somewhat limited. But if Bradley's out, 5,200 for Marcus Smart is really hard to go past, I think. So he's a name to have a look at. Other point guards, Johnny Wall, he dropped a big one today, of course. He's at 9,500, John. Decent matchup for him. There's a few high-priced point guards out there, Chrissy Paul, Dame Lillard, and Johnny Wall, so absolutely no worries with using Wall. He's at 92 on DraftKings. Like I said, the matchup is a solid one. He's averaging 47 on DraftKings over the last 5, which at that sort of salary, that's exactly what you want it to be at. Isaiah Thomas, 8,900. The John Wall defense, I'll say no to it. It's a big price for Thomas, and I know that he has been playing well, but I just don't think he's been playing that well. He's at 89 on DraftKings as well, and his average over the last 3 games is under 37, which at 8,900 doesn't get it done. Shit matchup, and a little bit of a dip in form for Isaiah. Not interesting to me. Shooting guards. Brattles, it's Brattles Beal, that is, 6,900. Not really getting to that level of late, so I think he's a fade on FanDuel. 64 on DraftKings, I'm okay with it. I don't think he's a strong play, but he is. If you're looking to spend mid-range on DraftKings, he's going to be one of the picks of the day over there, just because there's not a lot happening in the shooting guard mid-price range over on DraftKings, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the best way to go about structuring a lineup. If Avery Bradley plays, I don't think I'd want to use him after 2 games missed with an Achilles soreness. Jay Crowder has been dreadful. He's at 5,000 over on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings. He's averaging under 17 points in his last 3 games. Now, at 5,200, you want him to get 27, 28, and he absolutely can do it. But this is a negative matchup for him, and I have no faith whatsoever in him being able to do it. So I would look at him in GPP. There's upside at that low salary, but there's no trust. Otto Porter's at 5,900. Yeah, I'm okay with Porter here. This is a good matchup for him. He's been a little bit down today, but I think that Porter at 5,900 can have that value there. At 62 on DraftKings, I don't think it's a great one to look at. Kelly Oubre, no. Power forward, Markieff, love it, 5,100. Absolutely love it. The matchup's fantastic. He's averaging 30 across the last 3, even with a game that he fouled out in 21 minutes. No problem using Markieff on both. He's at 56 on DraftKings, which is obviously higher, but still there's value to be had there. Amir Johnson, Urepko, Jason Smith, no. Center Marcin Gortat, 6,400. He gets a positive matchup. We know the minutes are going to be coming out of the arse for him, no problem. But can he get to 32 or 33? His usage is really down at the moment. I think he's a solid cash center. I don't think he's got a huge amount of upside, while Kelly Olynyk is all upside, and he's at 3,600 on DraftKings, and I would look at him as a GPP guy that maybe, like he's averaging 22 over the last three, so 3,600, you could get 22, but he can also go for 30 if things sort of work in his way. But obviously that's the definition of a GPP type of play. Let's move on to the next game now. We've got the Memphis Grizzlies and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a fairly shit fantasy matchup. The Thunder are favored by 4.5, and the total is 204.5 points. Now, Deontay Davis, who's been out with a torn plantar fascia, is listed as questionable. That shouldn't really matter too much for us from a DFS point of view. Overall, this game, there's just not a lot to like about it. And if you're going to fade a game, this is it. Or if you want to go really contrarian, what you can do is in GPPs, you can stack this game because no one really else will. And if everything works out, then it works in your favor. But that is a real contrarian GPP type of idea. Let's start with the point guards. Mike Conley is at 7,200, has been putting up fairly consistent numbers, gets a positive matchup here. Don't completely hate it. I think it's okay to use Mike Conley. I don't think he's awesome, but he's been averaging 42 across the last three, and the Russ Westbrook matchup is a positive one. As for Russ, he's at 12,100. It's obviously a lot. Memphis is a real drag, and he's averaging only 36 in his last three games against Memphis, which is a concern. But if you want to get big points and feel confident about getting 55 or 56, Russ is probably going to be that guy. His lowest score in his last five is 48. He didn't. There is just concern with using him in a slower paced Memphis game, especially at $12,000. But it's really hard to say no, don't use Russ Westbrook. Campaign at minimum salary. He's a guy that you can have a look at and really have a look into GPP, but it is significantly how's I going to say? It's significantly risky. Look, he can go for 24, 25, but at minimum salary, he's worth a look, and I reckon he would be a low-owned player to look at. Vic Oladipo, 5,800. I think that's solid. He hasn't been awesome, but at 5,800, I think he can have value there. But again, this is not a great game to target, I don't believe. 4,700 for Tone Allen's not interesting to me either. Small forwards, Andre Robertson. He appeared in the perfect line yesterday. Yeah, he had 16 points. Doesn't matter. Jeremy Grant, no. Vince Carter, no. Chandler Parsons, no. Jimmy Ennis, who played 27 minutes in the last game at 3,700. Would you look at him? Sure, but then you'd probably pass and move on to someone else. Power forwards, Zebo's now at $6,000. He's been putting up good numbers, averaging 33 over the last three. He's at 5,800 on DraftKings, again, putting up solid numbers. But I don't have the trust in Zach Randolph. I would look at him as a GPP guy, and that's about it. I just don't feel that 6,000 cash on Zach Randolph is worth it. Jermichael Green at 4,500 I don't think is worth it either. Whereas Enes Kanter at 5,700, I think that Kanter, he's averaging 32 across the last three, so he's been putting up some nice numbers. He's at 51 on DraftKings, so I love it on DraftKings at 51, and I do think he can be used on FanDuel. Given the way that he's being used lately, the Grizzlies will go big with either Gasol there, Randolph there, but the Gasol defense is a real concern because that does limit guys significantly. He's been underperforming against Memphis his last three games. I would look at Kanter more as a GPP type of guy. He's more cash safe over on DraftKings, but still not fantastic. At center, we've got Steve Adams and Marc Gasol. Adams has been killing it, but he's now up to $6,000. He's averaging 31.5 over his last three. And over on DraftKings, he's at 5,700. But the defense of Marc Gasol is somewhat of a concern for Adams. I reckon it's fade time for him. The defense of Adams is a concern for Gasol, but the price is more of the issue. 8,200 is not something I want to invest in Gasol. That's on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's massively different. He's at 6,800, and that is absolutely fine to use Marc Gasol. So that's a really, really big difference between the sites, and that's something that you can look at on DraftKings, but I really wouldn't entertain the thought over on FanDuel. Let's go into the next game, which is Houston and Minnesota. All right, the no spread release for this one. Zach LaVine and Eric Gordon are both listed as questionable. LaVine left the last game with a hip contusion, and Gordon, of course, missed today's game with that sprained toe. If Levine is out, it's going to make us see more Nemanja Bjelica. He would be an okay punt in a GPP situation, as would Shabazz Muhammad if we find that Levine is out. If Gordo is out, extra minutes go to guys like Harrell, Anderson, Ariza, and Corey Brewer. And Corey Brewer may become a GPP guy at minimum salary in that situation, if they happen to be out. At point guard, Rick Rubio, $6,000 has been flying. Hated it on FanDuel. That's a $400 price rise, and that is not interesting, especially with Pat Beverly defense. Yes, Rubio's been playing well, but not at that price. But on DraftKings at $5,600, yeah, that's better to me. He's averaging 33.5 over the last 3 over there, 27 over his last 5. So at $5,600, I feel relatively good about using Rubio despite the Beverly matchup. The $6,000 turns me off him on FanDuel. As for Beverly, he's at $6,000 as well. Not really sure I want to invest in him at the $6,000 price mark. He's at 56 over on DraftKings, and I would take Rubio over him. Despite how well Beverly has played, it hasn't really translated into great DFS numbers of late. Jimmy Harden, obviously the shooting guard, $12,400. It's a $700 price rise. He's killing it. He dropped 69 today. He's averaging 54 over the last 5. It's a big chunk, and it might be a situation where he is fadeable just if you can't find the right guys to go in around him. On DraftKings, he's much better at $12,000. I would feel a lot more comfortable there. He's averaging almost 63 over his last 5. I would feel a lot better about using Harden in the DraftKings scoring system than I would with FanDuel. $6,200 for Zach. Really tough to use him considering we don't know whether he's going to play. And even that salary is a little bit touch and go with itself. $5,900 for Eric Gordon feels $400 or $500 too highly priced. So I think both those guys, who are both questionable, I wouldn't want to take the risk on them. Wiggo's at $6,300. I think we just have to consider Wiggins only a GPP guy. He's at $6,400 on DraftKings. He's at $63 on FanDuel. He's got obviously 45, 50 point upside, which is great for GPPs, but it can also be horrible. So that is why I do not want to touch him for cash. Trevor Ariza at $5,800. I think Ariza is okay, but I think he's got more downside than solidity. So I reckon we'll pass on him. Shabazz, as I mentioned, gets a bit of a bump at minimum salary if Zach happens to be out. Gorgie Jeng at $5,500. I feel he's fairly rock solid. Yeah, he struggled in the last game, but he's averaging 29 on DraftKings over the last 5, $5,400 on DK, and 55 on FanDuel. Some solid numbers for him. I think he's a really nice power forward to use. Ryan Anderson is also a GPP guy at $5,200. Hasn't really been having any big games lately. This might be the one, and that's why you want to look at him in GPPs. For the centers, the table, Montrezl Harrell, $4,800 still on FanDuel, ludicrously low. $5,300 for him on DraftKings makes me not quite as interested. Still think he's good value, but 48 on FanDuel is crazy low. I think he should be a real core player to use in on this day's games. Karl Anthony Towns at $9,500. He's solid at that price too. I think you should be looking at getting 46 to 47 out of him most nights that he plays. He's at 95 on DraftKings as well. And yeah, he's probably a 50-point guy over there. So absolutely fine using Karl Anthony Towns. Let's move on to the next game. We've got Cleveland coming off that loss to Utah. They're traveling to Portland. No spread released just for this game, or for this game just at the moment. Let's talk point guards. Kyrie is at $8,400. It's a $300 price rise. He's been decent. I wouldn't say that he's the best option to use for as bad as Portland's defense is. Especially the guards, Lillard and McCollum, they've been sort of a neutral for fantasy. So it's not a great matchup in that sort of a situation. It is a back-to-back for both teams. I think Irving is okay without standing out as being a spectacular option. On the other hand, Lillard at $9,000, Irving is a positive matchup to go up against. Lillard is just a GPP guy. I not at all. I can't get behind him in cash. At $8,500 on DraftKings, he gets close to becoming a cash play. That is very, very cheap. But yeah, we've seen him have some subpar performances. But when he goes big, it's 60 points. When he goes low, it's like 30. At $8,500, you can maybe get away with 30. At $9,000, I don't really think that you can do that. So that's sort of where he sits for me. Shooting guard, CJ McCollum's killing it. We know that. At $8,700, he's averaging 47 across the last 5. I just continually get the feeling that something is going to drop with him. Whether that's in this game or not, I don't know. 87 on FanDuel, 78 on DraftKings. So a pretty big difference between the prices. I would much rather go with him on DraftKings. I think he's okay on FanDuel, but he's not the best guy out there on FanDuel. Shumpert, Crab, Corver, Liggins, they shouldn't be touching your roster, I don't believe. Crab's always a GPP punty sort of a guy. Small forward Mo Harkless, 4,500. I'm okay with that. I don't think there's a huge upside on it, but he's a decentish cash guy. Evan Turner, no. And LeBronald at 10,100. I think if you're spending up at small forward, LeBron's got to be the guy to go for. He's at 97 on DraftKings, which I really like. The 10,100 is okay on FanDuel, and I think that he's worth a look on both of those sites. Power forwards, last time that Kevin Love played Portland, he dropped, what did he have, 25 in the first quarter or something? 28 in the first, something ludicrous. Big men against Portland, unless your name's Julius Randle, go off. 8,100 for Love, a bit of a down game today. I can really see him bouncing back and putting up a big performance. 8,100 on both sides for Love. Yeah, love it. Al-Farouq Aminu, killing it. 4,600 for Aminu on FanDuel. 5,100 on DraftKings, absolutely someone who can be used in lineups, both cash and GPP. No, look, the Cavs defense is an issue for power forwards, but he's so underpriced that you can actually price that in and feel pretty comfortable about getting results from him. At center, Mason Plumlee. Now, the Cavs do have a real negative effect on big men, and that's a reason to be a little bit worried about him, especially at 6,700 on FanDuel, but 6,000 on DraftKings, I'm definitely behind that. And we saw him have a huge game against Golden State, who's also a negative. So he can put up these big performances. It just depends. If they go Love at center or Fry at center, he might be a little bit lost defensively, but he's definitely worth having a look at, especially that $6,000 price tag on DraftKings. Tristan Thompson's at 4,900 on FanDuel, and he's priced at 47 on DraftKings. I don't really think that there's a lot to love with Tristan Thompson at that price. He's okay, but his upside is just very, very minimal. Let's go to the last game of the night, and that is the Orlando Magic. They're taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are favored by 10, and the total is 209. Austin Rivers should be back after missing the last game with a flu, and Serge Ibaka and Lord Alfred Payton are both questionable for the Magic. Ibaka with a shoulder problem and Payton with a right quad contusion. Obviously, if those guys are out, things change up a lot. If Payton is out, it's all about DJ Augustin. If Serge is out, I think that's going to have to force Aaron Gordon into big minutes. It's going to push up Vucevic, and it's going to push up Bismack Biyombo. So they're the guys that you're going to target if those guys are out. Of course, on Basketball Monster, we've got our what-if scenario. So you can have a look how all the points distribution will change with whatever player happens to be out. You can see how that's all reflected. So I do suggest that if you're not a member, become one, and you can check out all this stuff in our DFS projections. Point guards, Austin Rivers at 4,400. He's going to play, not at point guard, but he's going to play. He's averaging 31 over the last three. And at 4,400, I think he's one of the best low-price point guards that's actually out there on this slate. He's at 47 on DraftKings, which is obviously a bit higher, but it doesn't mean that he's a total write-off in that situation either. Augustine at 3,700 has been playing excess minutes lately, and if Payton is out, let's go all in on him, but otherwise, no. But on DraftKings, even if Payton's in, 3,600, I would have a look at Augustine because a lot of his value comes from threes. You know you get the bonus points on DraftKings. I can see that being a GPP type of option over there. Chris Paul, I love, 9,200. Come back killing it since his injury. 46-point average over the last three. You really like him. He's at 94 on DraftKings, so I'm not quite as happy with him at that price on DraftKings, especially with a $700 price rise, but he's clearly in play. Lord Alfred, the Chris Paul matchup would be an issue. He's at 5,900. We don't know if he's playing. That screams stay away to me. Shooting guards, it's Jamal Crawford, it's JJ Redick for the Clippers. Redick's the guy for me. He's averaging 28 over the last three, dropped 35 in the last game. He is a little bit more expensive, but he's fine to use. I hate that he's 5,500 on DraftKings. That's a no-go, but 45 on FanDuel, absolutely. Crawford had 2 points in the last game, so he is strictly a GPP type of player. Evan Fournier at 58. He had 30 in the last game. I think he's getting back to being that guy that's going to get 30 on most nights. It probably leans more towards cash, but I feel pretty good about Fournier in this one. 6,000 on DraftKings is not quite as good, but it's still decent. Aaron Gordon at 4,600. Well, he was terrible in the last game. I would still look at him as a GPP guy, but if Ibaka is out or limited, he feels a safer cash play to me. He did have just 8 points in that last game after a real string of impressive performances. I can still look at him even if Ibaka is playing. Luke Marmute, Jeff Green revenge game? I don't think so. He's terrible. Power forwards, Surge at 6,700. I'm not going to use him with the injury and with that salary. 63 on DraftKings, I may consider it, but just you don't want a guy who's going to have issue maybe raising his arm to grab boards, to shoot the ball. All those things are not ideal scenarios. DeAndre Jordan's at 7,500. It's a very positive matchup for centers, so Jordan could be useful. He's at 7,000 on DraftKings, which I really, really love. So I love him more on DraftKings than on FanDuel, but he is absolutely usable on both sites. While Vucevic gets a bump if Surge is out, he's at 6,900 over on FanDuel, and he's at 66 on DraftKings. You can consider using him as is. It's probably a little bit more risky, but if Surge is out, I would feel really, really good about using Vooch. And Bismack Biyombo at 4,200 on FanDuel and 38 on DraftKings would obviously get a bump, and they'd play some Vucevic and Biyombo together, and that would be enough to make up that minimal salary that he's got there. All right, let's talk picks of the day now before we wrap this up. On FanDuel, Austin Rivers at 44, TJ McConnell at 54, and Chrissy Paul at 92. Shooting guard JJ Redick 45, Vic Oladipo 58, and Jimmy Harden 12-4. Small forward Aaron Gordon 46, Bob Covs at 55, and LeBronald is at 10,100. For the power forwards, Al-Farouq Aminu 46, Markieff Morris 51, and Kevin Love at 8,100. And the centers, the table Montrezl Harrell 48, Joel Embiid 75, and Karl Anthony Towns 95. On DraftKings, DJ Augustine 36, Rick Rubio 56, and Dame Lillard 85. Shooting guard Evan Turner's at 39. That is strictly a GPP punt option at that very low salary. Brad Beal at 64 and Jimmy Harden at 12,000. Small forwards Mo Harkless 4,000, Markieff 56, and LeBron at 9,700. Power forwards Kelly Olynyk 36, Gorgie Jeng 54, and Kevin Love 8,100. And at centre, Nerlens Noel 42, Mason Plumlee 6,000, and the process at $8,000. On Moneyball, Austin Rivers 44, Rick Rubio 53, and Lillard at 86. Shooting guard JJ Redick 47, Vic Oladipo 54, and Jimmy Harden 12,000. Mo Harkless is at 48, Melo's at 79, and LeBron's at 10,700. Power forwards, the tables at 4,500. Markieff's at 53, and Love is at 8,200. And at centre, Nerlens Noel 38, the process 7,400, and Karl Towns 9,100. Draft stars Austin Rivers 6,350, Pat Bev 10,050, Chris Paul 15,350, JJ Redick 78, CJ McCollum 13,550, and Jimmy Harden 21,750. Small forward Source Castillo 58, Markieff Morris 10,850, and Mellows at 14,750. Power forwards Al-Farouq Aminu 7,150, Mason Plumlee 10,600, and Kevin Love 15,750. And at centre, the tables at 5,900. Zach Randolph is at 92, and the process at 14,850. We are done for today's podcast, guys. Follow me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Shout out to Daniel for being today's Patreon sponsor, of course, Basketball Monster and Fantrax. And check out the rest of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find a podcast for your team every day. We are done here, guys. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Rajon Rondo.